TD Jakes' son-in-law's takeover scheme seems to have backfired and not been worth the risk. Hello everyone, and yes, I'm bringing you on the go with me while I talk about this because I need to get outside because it's hot out here. It's hot in the United Kingdoms, and it's about to be another heat wave for 10 days starting this weekend. So I need to build up my endurance, okay? Anywho, I need to talk to you guys about this because you guys will remember that like months ago, I don't remember when, like same with like celebrities, people that I don't really like, or I feel like we're not operating at the same wavelength, I don't really like to pay attention to. But I just so happened to come across this news today about this. So basically, Tory Roberts, if you guys will remember, and I made a whole video about this, and I had to talk about it because I was like, this is the type of stuff that be adding confusion in the kingdom. But he was married to a different woman, and he decided, or he claimed, you'd have to go and watch the video, I made it, you can just search his name on my channel for the specifics, but pretty much he was trying to claim somewhat that the Lord had told him that he needed to be married to Sarah Jakes, TD Jakes' daughter. Can I tell you, as a pastor's daughter, every time I see that woman, I'm like, I'm so glad not to be where she is. I actually don't know what's worse, being a pastor's wife or a pastor's daughter. Like, I actually don't know. I've never been a pastor's wife, but I don't know what's worse. Genuinely speaking, because I was thinking this whole situation, it's giving like, you know how people marry off their daughters as like a business deal, like King so-and-so, marry my daughter and our kingdom will share our gold and you share your diamonds. You know, one of them ones. And you're just, again, as a woman being used by a man. The same way that, you know, women with more slaves were seen as more valuable as wives, the same way that even in cultures today, people pay a bride price. Like, men have been putting price tags on us forever. And so I don't know why we pretend as if there's any kind of respect going on a lot of the time. But it's the truth. I'm not making anything up. So that's how I feel like about some of this stuff, because evidently that's what Tory Roberts was also doing. He's looking at it like, well, you're obviously the daughter of TD Jakes, and if anything happens to TD Jakes or her, then he's kind of next in line, because obviously Sarah's the one people have heard a lot about, and her brother, whose name I think is Dexter, who's the one who's throwing the spanner in the works, never really wanted to be seen. He wanted to fall back behind everything and was like, I don't want to be out there. I just want to like live my life in the shadows. I hear you, brother. I also want to live my life just in the shadows. The spotlight is never in nothing like what people think. It's not worth it the way people think it is at all. So anyway, he's left his wife to go and pursue this, to get with Sarah Jakes. And the other bit that made it a bit sketchy was the fact that I didn't know that, because I don't really pay attention to that, both TD Jakes and Sarah are quite ill. Now, I want to comment on that part as well, because I want to say this. I've been saying to you guys, and TD Jakes was one of the people I brought up. You know, like how a couple years ago, how long ago was it? It wasn't last year, was it the year before? I can't remember. I think it was last year when I had a vision, and in the vision, yeah, it was last year. So in the vision, I'm trying to remember, the only way I can remember is I remember I went to Torino, Italy that same year, because I remember I was crying about the vision one day while I was at the Torino stadium in between rehearsals before we went on stage. So that was last year. Did I go to Torino last year, or was that before? Oh my days, how do I not remember? Anyway, and it's all documented on my channel as well. Anyways, whatever, it was either a year or 2 years ago. And I made a video basically saying to you guys how I had this vision about, how, the Lord was basically saying, like, we should pray for all of our leaders to repent and stuff, right? If you guys remember, I was like, pray for your leaders to repent, pray for them to, like, humble themselves. Which then, not intentionally, led us down a whole rabbit hole of reading, David versus Saul in the Bible, and pride versus humility. And I was saying to you guys that, the season of judgment is coming. And like, we need to make sure we've like placed ourselves where we want to be placed whenever whatever goes down. Because it's always true. One thing that's true of when Jesus finally comes, and what's true every day, is we never know when God, we even did this, the parable of the 10 virgins, you know, you never know when the groom is coming, right? And so in that parable, if you remember, it's in Matthew, if you want to go and find it. In that parable, hold on. In that parable, there's the five virgins who have their oils filled, their jars filled with oil, and the 5 who don't, but they still all go to sleep. And then when they wake up, because the groom arrives, the ones who don't have the oil are like, but please share with us, please share our oil. And they're like, well, we can't, because then we won't have enough oil for what we're supposed to do, and you should have been prepared. And why were you even, as I said, my thought with that was like, why were you even sleeping knowing you had no oil in the jar? And we're not going to get all into that breakdown, but that's how people are. That's why I say be prepared yourself. Like, whether it's like that you need to humble yourself before the Lord and repent before he decides he's going to retaliate, or if you're on our side, we also have to fill up our lamps. Why did I say jar? Lamps with oil, right? And so we shouldn't maybe be sleeping. This is why I'm like, I don't really get how, you know, a lot of people call themselves a believer and then are like, but I never speak to God. I only spend like a tiny amount of time with God every day. And I'm struggling with my faith and having faith. And it's just like, if you're talking about you're working on your communication, your faith is in the amount of faith you have, you wish you had more. That's one thing. If you're saying that you struggle to trust God even just for the basics of stuff, or just trust in his character alone, I'm not saying you need to, all I'm saying is that should be your number one priority. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that needs to change or you have to force it. I'm saying, why are you focused on anything else? Because it's almost like, the way I look at it with the vessels, the lamps and the oil, it's like, what's the point of planning for the journey that you have to do throughout a night and having literally everything like food and, I don't know, clothing, water, but you don't even at least have the oil to see where you're going? That's the best way I could put it. Like, you don't have and that's like the most key thing, if anything, because food you might be able to catch along the way. This is actually such a heavy message if you think about it. Food you might actually be able to find along the way, or even water, or even shelter. You might be able to make it for yourself. But the one thing, you know, the oil for the lamp, and especially like, you know, fire. Anyway, once the fuel is gone, it's gone. You know, and then you're just stuck. So why would I, or why should somebody else, this is why I say prepare yourself. Why should I, who've prepared enough oil for myself for the entire journey, end up with all of us stuck halfway through the journey because all of us who filled our lamps with oil decided to be nice and share? That's why I'm like, the nice thing doesn't work a lot of the time. Nevertheless, all to say about being prepared. So what I think, I actually think that it's either them getting sick, is either them giving them an opportunity, because they're not the only ones I know of who are sick. And for me, Sarah was always the one who was the most enabling. It's kind of similar to like, she's like the Kim to how Rob Kardashian is to her brother. Like, you have in the Kardashian family, you have Kim, who's again doing the same thing her mother did. Because I was just thinking the other day, how comes Northwest is the one who's always doing something out there and quirky? She's about to go on tour as a 13-year-old without her parents there. All of this, she's got all these dermal piercings on her face and on her hands and all of this. And she's always out there and she's always doing stuff. And then if you look at the rest of the kids, they're always just doing something normal. And it's like, why is this giving sacrifice? Why is this giving the sacrificial child, like the child of sacrifice, like Kim Kardashian was? Literally repeating the sins of her mother, literally continuing the sins of her parent. It's giving Sarah and TD Jakes low-key, because I always used to wonder, like, I have such off feelings about her. And I feel like in a lovely world, I see, you know, I can see the lovely idea of like, oh, the pastor and his daughter doing ministry together, you know. I once believed in those kinds of dreams myself, you know, for myself. And it is a very wholesome idea. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is like, but for which kingdom are you actually representing? Because just because they're looking like it's Christianity on the outside don't mean it's Christianity on the inside. You feel what I'm saying? So that's where I'm a bit like, what's this really about? You know, so I kind of feel like, you know, in the same way that then Rob Kardashian, who of the family is the one who's low key now, he's not in the public eye. He's not like, we don't ever see of him. Anytime anybody starts asking, all they have to say is, oh, he's, just struggling, he's just struggling. And which I think he's low-key on a conservatorship, that, or he's just realized, hey, these people are so wealthy. If you guys give me money and just make sure my life is comfortable, I'll keep my mouth shut. Because that's what I feel like a lot of people in Hollywood are doing, which we're going to come back to that in another video, because I've got to talk about Zac Efron moving to Australia to escape Hollywood. But we'll come back to that. So there's that as well. But that's what it's giving. It's giving that Sarah was the one who was willing to just kind of know the hypocrisies and just go along with it and enjoy. Like, it's, as a daughter, right, of a man, it's really unfortunate. But I'm probably I'm like a lot like my dad and like very little like my mother, to be honest. In every way, even the way I look. That's why I've always thought of myself as ugly, because growing up, people always like, oh my gosh, you look exactly like your dad. Oh my gosh, you look exactly like your dad. Oh my gosh, you look exactly like your dad. So I'm like, okay, so I look like a man. Great. And like, even my personality type, we're very, very similar. So I'm saying all this to say, I can see how this works. Where they're like, this is his daughter. They're doing this. It looks very wholesome. It looks very, very stable, very functional. And it's perfect, Obviously, ideally, a lot of time people want to have like a son. But maybe this is why the sons weren't involved. You know what I mean? Which is another interesting thing to mention, that like in African culture, and it's so funny because my brother used to say this to me all the time growing up, like remind me about this, that like, say like where my family comes from, even though I'm the oldest, because I'm a girl, I would in some aspects be considered still the younger sibling to my brother. And I'm like, he used to say that to me as if like, oh my gosh, like I'm really the older one. I'm like, go ahead and take that pressure, mate. Go and take the pressure of being the oldest sibling. You can go and have that. You can go and have that to yourself. I hope that for you, because it's horrific. I wouldn't wish being the oldest on my worst enemy. Go and have that if that's what you want. Like, that's so funny. But again, it just goes to, what I'm saying, the attitudes towards women. I have to keep mentioning this stuff because obviously I come for everybody on this channel. I critique men, I critique women, and I just have to make sure I keep it balanced so that people don't think, like I said, I'm not team men, I'm not team women. I'm team everybody needs to get it together. And everybody needs to face up to the music. So that's why I'm stating actual real life things. You can't get mad at me for the stuff I've said, because it's all stuff that has really happened and that's really happening. Because I didn't even consider until this story the idea that in potentially, who knows if out there, if I had my dad had continued the way he was, like with church and everything, if I just then became the daughter to marry, just so that we could merge industries, or they became mega pastors so we can merge businesses and merge whatever, and I'm just like the token to keep it together. And then this is why people rush to have a baby, which is just like Kris Jenner, because why is it always every new man, they're always having babies? And they did the marriage thing for like a little moment there in the beginning, a couple of times to promote, diamond rings. And then now it's like every new man, there has to be babies. And like I said, how come some of the babies get to live normal lives? And then some of them are like, it's just, I'm just putting two and two together. Like I said, you guys, I'm putting two and two together, and I can see how that works. So the fact that they're sick makes me think that that's a part of like, maybe not a judgment, but a warning. And I know that might sound insane to everybody, but listen, would you rather? The Bible says, fear not he who can take your life, but he who can take your soul, right? And I think a lot of people in these fakes and phonies who I'm talking about all the time, I genuinely don't think they fear God. Like, I do not think they actually fear him. And that's what scares me about it. I'm like, I don't think you have a genuine fear of God, because I don't think you'd go around being this level of hypocrite. Because even T.D. Jakes, with this Touré Roberts fella, this Touré Roberts fella, what he did is so disgraceful, like, in the eyes of the Lord. We're supposed to not divorce unless there's sexual immorality. So unless they want to say that that's why he divorced his wife. But no, he's deliberately, and he's clearly spoken against what's written in the scriptures by saying, God told me, or whatever, however he phrased it exactly, that I'm destined to be with, Sarah or Jakes or whatever. And it's just like, okay, but how does that make any sense? Because God doesn't contradict himself. And if he is, a lot of times that's because we're misunderstanding. But again, if T.D. Jakes was a real true man of God and whatever, that's something that should go addressed, and that's something that should surely be explained. It's just not something God would be a part of, because again, God is not the author of confusion, and it's all very strategic. And so, yeah, the fact that anybody went along with it just tells me what I need to know, that they're all fakes and phonies. And maybe this is why the brother's now rising up and is like, you know what, actually, I feel like I should take over. I'm taking, like, he did his first sermon, I think that's what it was, or something like that, ever since, because there was some special service that TD Jakes has been doing since 1988. The way that people glaze pastors always made me feel sick. Like the way I used to be in church here, and I'm seeing people like, oh, Pastor so-and-so, Pastor so-and-so, it's so grateful to have you. Like it's the second coming of Jesus. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful just as much as the next person. It's great to have somebody who's, you know, strong with the Lord, who's there and whatever. That's awesome. I'm not saying anything against that. What it is where you start to treat them, because it's the same thing I say like about celebrities, and people get upset about like the treatment celebrities get and that they get egos. I'm like, yeah, but we give them egos, because you meet a celebrity and you like fall, oh my gosh, I can't breathe, I'm crying. You're like hyperventilating. If you go through that kind of experience, if people are treating you like a god every time they see you, eventually you might start thinking of yourself as a god. This is why, like I say, guys, I don't want anybody to, don't compliment me, don't say nothing nice about me, no. Nope. Because if that's going to lead to me having some gargantuan, nope. I'm just a girl, you know. So that always cringed me out, like how people would just be. And I think because I saw it so many times, and also I'm seeing like the other side behind the curtain of some people. And again, not just when I grew from growing up, but also in my life as an adult. Because, I don't know, I'm that kind of person that I always find myself, because people don't really take me seriously, I always find myself seeing the real side of people, because they just think, oh, she's just this dumb idiot, stupid young girl. And so like, what is she? She's probably not paying attention. She probably doesn't even understand. Like I've had people say comments like that in front of my face. Like, I bet you don't even know what I'm talking about, do you? And I'm like, hey, on purpose, because you stupid idiot. You dumbass. Like, because I know exactly what you're talking about, and now I know the real you. And God forbid if I decide to switch up, but you know, so that's kind of what happened with that. And I get so annoyed seeing like just the hypocrisies of people, because it's like, it's the way they do it, right, as well. A lot of these leaders, it's the way they do the whole, like, it's also happened to me whenever I'm dating a man of God. When I say dating means like we went on maximum like 2 or 3 dates. And it's always like this. It's almost like they're just like, now I can just take the costume off. Like, that's what it feels like. And then it's like they're waiting for me to take off the costume, but I'm not wearing a costume, and that's the point. And they don't seem to understand. It's like, oh no, I'm not here. Oh, we all think, because a lot of people like in leadership in Christianity, right? Because a lot of them are hypocrites and a lot of them are fakes and phonies. They really do be thinking that like when they get around certain people, like, oh, of course, it's the same way that Kirk Franklin, when he had all those like streamers over or whoever to his house. And I thought this was so embarrassing, by the way. He had them all over to his house, and one of the guys goes to sip his drink, and he's like, oh, what is this? Because it obviously was an alcoholic beverage. And from what it looked like, it looked pretty strong. Like, it looked like something pretty strong in there. And I'm just thinking, you're Kirk Franklin. I did a whole video about this. But evidently he thought, oh, but this is just like, because why is he doing that? He's doing that because that's what he thinks he's used to doing. Do you know what I mean? He's doing that because he thinks that's what he's used to doing. And he's doing that because he's used to being around hypocrites as well. So he's now also thinking, oh, you don't drink? So now he's got a person who's not even a believer telling him that they don't drink. And he's the one who's offering the alcohol. It's just like, brother, and you're supposed to be Kirk Franklin worship leader. I'm not saying Kirk Franklin worship leader can't have an alcoholic beverage, or I'm not saying any of this. I'm saying if you're in a place of leadership and you're in a place of whatever, same thing I'm saying with TD Jakes. I'm not saying that, you know, it's his responsibility what Toria Roberts or his daughter does, right? What I'm saying is, it's your responsibility as a leader to lead by example and make a very clear message to the people you're talking to about what you believe is and isn't acceptable. And sometimes there's lines that have to be drawn in order for you to maintain that, because she talks about that in the books of Timothy in the Bible, where it talks about the office of an overseer and all of this. And, you know, and all the different things, which again, we talked about on this channel. We've done that as well. Go and read it for yourself if you want. I think it's in 2 Timothy. You don't just get to just, you know, just your standards, you putting yourself in that position. This is what I mean by kissing their butts doesn't help anybody or anything or anyone, because all that does is that they then get to live as hypocrites as long as everybody's worshipping them, and then everyone gets blinded in delusion thinking that, oh my gosh, this man of God, because you're so busy. Like, it's literally like the God thing of like, when you see something or someone as like your God, you like treat them as such, and then it's like blinding to you. You can't see the truth for what it is anymore, because you're just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, it's Cheesy Jakes. You know what I mean? Like how people act around celebrities. And I'm just like, because I remember the first time I went to a concert, I went to see Kid Ink. I was like 16. And I really liked Kid Ink's music then. And honestly, I still kind of like it, some of his songs, but I don't really ever listen to him. But, and I remember getting to the concert. I remember just standing there in the crowd and being like, he's just a guy. Like, he's just a guy. He's just a guy. Like, and I already knew that, but it was just another thing to see somebody who I actually really liked to listen to. And ever since that, when I was 16, like, this is why I really don't get how people are just like falling over their heads over time. Like, it genuinely becomes like treating them like a god. You know what I mean? Because I guess, to be fair, as I've said to you guys already many times, I could never meet Jesus in person because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't, like, as in, like, I met Jesus, but like I couldn't experience Jesus in his fullness in how he's experienced it. Like, every time Jesus is trying to like pull up, I'm like, no, because I will explode. I can't handle it. I can't handle meeting Jesus like that. Like, it's too much. And that might sound silly and ridiculous, but that's because he is my God. You see what I'm saying? This bro again sleeping under the tree. It's nice to be a man, isn't it? You can just lay and sleep in public, you know, on the grass, and not have fear that a woman's coming to, you know, whatever. And then if you do, people be like, oh, you should have stayed inside. This is what I'm saying. I hate the summer. Like, just to circle back to that, as a woman, I hate it. Like, the other day I came out, I'm sweating, I'm wearing whatever, and there's a guy standing there in like the shortest of shorts and sliders and no shirt. And I'm like, what a day to be a man. Because can I tell you, I'm not going to get into it because this is a video about the Lord, but it's so annoying. Just because men can't control themselves, we have to do all this stuff. Yeah, like the Afghanistan situation. And I'm thinking of the women in Afghanistan right now who are now have to cover themselves entirely, can't even leave the house without a man, like has to be a husband, brother, or father. Yeah, for what reason? For modesty. And you know those men are raping those women behind the scenes. Because ain't no way that I want to like consensually have sex with a man who treats me like that. And then when men wonder why their wives don't want to have sex with them these days. And then this is why a lot of them are gay. I've actually done the maths, by the way, of this whole situation. I'm not going to get into it in this video. But it's like I actually think here the whole problem is because it's actually harder for them. It is more work for them they'd rather the work of finding a way to force us or blame us or feel entitled than the work to actually learn about women and what would actually make us be enthusiastic and interested. I genuinely think they'd rather just an easier option, because that's what they do in life, is choose an easier option. Hence, like this Touré Roberts dude, yeah, where he's like, you could make a name for yourself. You could build, no, but Sarah Jake's over there. Let me go and marry her. Anyways, it's backfired is the long and short of it. It's backfiring because now Sarah, now the brother's pulling up, and low-key, he's going to have more. The reason why this was working, this goes back to why I say certain people are just losers at the end of the day, because he is somebody I would describe as a loser. I was talking about this yesterday when I was talking about Mr. Beast's ex-employee went onto VidCon and was all talking about how he's this and he's that and he's whatever he is, yeah? And trying to be the big show, having all this ego. You're talking about how working on such big scale products, you know what I mean? Using the vernacular of the egomaniac of the centuries. And he was like, and I was saying that if he was really that important, and if he really wanted something to be proud of, he should build something for himself. Because as much as I've never been a fan of TD Jakes from the beginning, and I always had off feelings, I can at least respect the guy for having built himself something for himself. I can respect it. That's what I call, you know, like how I say Christian, like if you're going to be in the losing team, like do it well. Like with Kris Jenner, like if you're going to be a mother, an evil mother, like do it and do it well. Don't do it to the point where like, do it, at least get rich, you know what I mean? At least get filthy freaking rich. At least have the masses under a spell. You know what I mean? If you're going to be a fraudulent pastor, you know what I mean? If you're going to use the people of God to do the work of the enemy, at least be good at it. So I respect him for that. You know what I mean? TD Jakes in that aspect, I respect him. That's what I'm like, if whatever you do it and do it well. Do it to the best of your abilities. You know what I mean? Just don't be lukewarm. This is how I interpret, by the way, the scriptures when God says about being lukewarm. It's like, don't be lukewarm. You mean you're not even that dedicated to being good or bad? So that means you're just lazy. You're just lazy altogether. You're not even dedicated to you're not even dedicated to whichever side you're working for. That's actually the real laziness of it. And this is where this Touré Roberts idiot is going, because what did he think? As long as there's living blood of his children alive, of course the living blood of his children are going to be the ones to potentially take the whatever. And so this didn't go good. It's not looking good. I'm going to keep, well, I say I'm going to keep looking into it. I don't really care. A lot of stuff that I have to end up talking about, like God really has to force me, like to really, well, I have to force myself. God doesn't force me. I have to force myself because I'm like, I know this is going to be relevant to something I should talk about with people, but I have to like force myself because I don't care. Like, is it like, and do you know the biggest gag of it all for me is? I can't believe there's people brain dead enough to still be showing up at those services. This is what tells me we're cooked as the so-called body of Christ. This is what tells me, because how the hell are adults? And it makes me laugh. It's to the point where I literally laugh watching videos of people at church these days. As I'm just watching it, and I feel like it's because I'm not under the spell. So it's like, it looks so different to me. I'm like looking and I'm like, of everything that's happening, and you're really still showing up there, and you're really going home, feeling good about the day, feeling good that you went to church, feeling like you ticked off the checkbox list, because you're not interested in having a real relationship with God. You just want the benefits, hence why you're there for the person who also is not interested in having a real relationship with God, but just wants the benefits, which is the big mega pastors, which is exactly why you guys, birds of a feather, flock together, because all of y'all on the same timing. We want the benefits of a relationship with God without the actual relationship with God. And hence why these things happen. And hence why you guys have that kind of relationship. And hence why you still showing up. Because you're like, hopefully someday me doing the absolute bare minimum is going to create the results of what I would get from having a real life relationship with God. I'm just going to keep hitting that button. And you're attracted to that because that's exactly what those leaders are doing. The only thing is they're pretending to actually be living up to the standards. And they're just using you to fund that vision. Isn't that crazy? You think it's God blessing them, but it's you blessing them. And you're so brain dead that you've been convinced that it's God doing this in them and that you'll get this from God when you are quite literally the ones paying. You're quite literally the ones paying. You're quite literally the ones showing up. You're the ones buying the books. And then somehow you think you did it. This is why I'm like, you all did it together. It's the same with celebrities these days. People be like, make a pastor churches should this. Listen, you're just the same with the celebrities. They're just the same with the celebrities. You buy all of their clothing, you go to every single one of their concerts, you're streaming all of their music, you're buying all of their merch. They make another season of merch, and then it's like they start doing collectibles. Oh, you need to collect this and collect that. I have the hoodie from every single era of Taylor Swift's Eras tour, blah blah blah. It's the same thing. And then you look at them like, oh, we hate the rich. Like the mega pastors, all the rich mega pastors. How did they get rich? Because your brain dead ass was the one showing up. You idiot. And if you did the math, like I'm like, this is why the world is so bad at math. Yeah, because no one's thinking logically. Think logically. Where's that money coming from? You all giving your tithe and you all falling for I feel like some of you, I don't know, the Lord's telling me that 100 of you are going to give $1,000 tonight. I think 100 of you are going to get $1,000 tonight. Meanwhile, they were probably scrolling through private jets right backstage, drinking whiskey, doing cocaine before they came on stage. And meanwhile, they're scrolling through that to then put on the performance of a lifetime. All right, let me suit up my tie, put a cold water on my face. Showtime. Good morning, such and such a church, and welcome home. It's just a pleasure to be with you guys today. I don't know if you're feeling blessed. I'm feeling blessed. I'm feeling elated. I'm just feeling so close to the sky and to the Lord because I'm sky high. My guy, like you flipping idiots. I can't believe I was born in such a brain dead society. Like, I actually can't be us. Like, I actually didn't have to be here. Anyways, guys, you hear what I'm saying? Like, it's just a big mess. Whatever happens or whatever's happening, it's not about that. As you guys know, I'm not here to be talking on stuff because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the latest news. Oh my gosh, a crazy story. Like some flipping brain dead, gossip obsessed people like the world is and lover of chaos. Quite simply, I'm just pointing a lot of things out that don't make sense because I want you guys to think for yourselves. Don't take my words for it. I hate, one thing I hate about being on social media and one thing I hate about being the kind of person I am is people always put the onus on you to prove to them why what you're saying is what you're saying. And I'm like, no. If you're in the winning team, we're mature adults here. I say what I'm saying as a food for thought for you to go and do your own research. We need to build up that skill of actually thinking for ourselves because the same brain dead idiots who will be showing up for the whole 50 years of their life in the freaking Potter's House church to a phony It'll be the same people. If you are doing the thinking for yourself, how do I get to where I get to? By thinking for myself. And so, no, I'm not pandering, by the way, to people anymore. I'm not going to have to over-explain myself or explain, like, oh, why did you say this? And how can you prove that? Prove this, prove this. I've done my research to satisfy myself. If you're not satisfied, that's not my business. I've given you food for thought. If you're intelligent enough, you'll at least go and have a look to see if there's any validity to what I'm saying. And if you're not prepared to do that, then what else are you not prepared to do the due diligence for? And also, at the end of the day, don't be mad at some of us when we could rise out on top, and don't be mad at the Lord when he's like, well, you had the chance and you didn't take it. Because that's exactly what the devil wants you to do. This is why he wants us to be blind followers of things, so that he can then, so then what will happen is, when all is said and done, and God's like, well, you knew about this, you knew about this, you know. You'd be like, I didn't know, nobody ever told me. And he's like, but did you not have the access to do the research? Was the research not in front of you? Were there people not literally confronting you about it? Yeah, but they didn't this. And how did they get there? Because all the things I'm saying to you guys, I don't have some pastor leading me the way and some whoever holding my hands. I'm doing my own Bible study, my own research, my own time. I'm spending my own time with the Lord. That's how I'm getting to where I'm getting to. So don't come for me. And on that note, take all of that to think about everything I've said. I've said a lot, and I'm saying a lot these days because I don't care anymore. Life's a game, is pay to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.